I don't even know where to begin to say what I really want to say, but I feel really compelled and convicted to say something to you. Um, there are a lot of things when you're a public figure that you're reluctant to say because the fear of being misunderstood or your words being misconstrued or captured in a light that they weren't intended. Hi, Washington, D.C. Dion, God bless you. Um, and this is one of those subjects that's so controversial that I was reluctant to say anything about it, but I just feel compelled, really compelled to say something about it. And just bear with me as I try to articulate to you what's on my heart. I guess I should start by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician. I have no formal training as it relates to science and anything like that. I'm not a political figure or anything like that. I'm just a person who is connected with a lot of people and see a lot of things and have some thoughts and want to share some concerns. I'm concerned. I know that most of us across the country have been shut up in the house for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And now the standards are changing and the government officials in different areas are beginning to open up. And I understand why they're trying to open up, and I understand the dynamics between the perils of economic perils versus pandemic perils. And I don't really criticize either side of the argument. Of course, I value life over finances. There's no question about that. But I also realize that if our finances go down low enough, we lose our lives anyway. So it's a really tough decision to make, and it's very tough for leaders right now to make that decision and to face the ridicule and the castigation that goes along with either side of the issue. Um, Both of them have certain merits that we cannot ignore. We cannot ignore the food lines that we see across the country in Florida. I cannot ignore the food lines I'm seeing at my own churches. We desperately try to feed people who have lost their jobs and don't have income and don't have money. I know that we need our economic infrastructure has to withstand this or we'll fall into the Great Depression. I understand that. But on the other hand, I look at the pandemic and I look at the atrocities that it has created, uh, not only amongst the horrific death rate uh, that is attacking all people, and people of color even more so, people without means even more so, people with pre-existing conditions even more so, elderly people even more so. Not to say that younger people are not contracting the disease. I see all of it. I get to see all of it. And you have to understand that my position is affected by the fact that I am an international clergy figure who, so every time people die and funerals and arrangements, and I can't tell you how my phone has rung off the hook over the last 6 weeks with screaming, grieving, crying, weeping people upset because they couldn't say goodbye to their mothers or fathers, or sometimes both mother and father have it, and sisters and aunts and uncles and grandparents and even children. And maybe that has something to do with how I feel about this. But I woke up one morning and I spent about 2 or 3 hours just in tears for the dead bodies that I saw um, all over New York and stacked up in trailers. And those are like real people that the morgues can't handle, the morticians can't handle, the funeral homes are exploding. And I know that some of us are living in areas that are less hit, and it doesn't seem real in different parts of the counties, even in the same state. Sometimes they're not as hot as other places, and it doesn't seem real, and you feel punished to be in isolation when your numbers are not that high, and I understand all of that. I get all of that. But I wanted to say something, and I pray that you hear me. Just because they are lifting up some of the restrictions does not necessarily mean that you have to lift up your restrictions on what is best for you. That is not a political decision. That's not a Democratic, Republican decision. It's not a presidential decision. It's not a governor's decision. It's not a mayor's decision. It's not a preacher's decision. You will live or die based on your decisions and how you handle the days ahead. I know there are some of you that have to get to work, and you have things that you have to do, and you have to go to the store sometime, and you have to do all kinds of things. But when there's something that you have to do, please, please be very, very careful. I know you're tired of being in the house, and I know the weather, at least in Texas, is getting beautiful, and it probably is in other places, and nothing draws people out like good weather and sunshine, and you want to enjoy the beauty of the season, and you want to get out there and have some fun, and you want normal back. You crave normal back. There are restaurants you like to go eat at, or people you want to hang with, or things you want to do, and I get it. I feel that way too. I want to open up my church. I want to see it like it was bad. But I cannot allow those feelings and emotions to cause me to disregard the common sense survival instinct that we all must have to get through this pandemic, something we've never seen in our entire lifetime. And I guess I'm trying to say, go out when you need to, take a ride when you need to, go someplace if you have to go, but be very, very careful, especially if you're in a group or an area of people that are highly susceptible. I don't want to be sick like that. I've got members all around me who have contracted COVID-19. Listen, even the young people took a terrible beating. It is a tough sickness. It is not like the flu for people, for many people who contracted. Now, some people are asymptomatic, and I get that. But you don't know which one you're going to be. And even if you're asymptomatic, you don't want to give that to somebody that ends up fighting for their life, even if they win. The fight is a brutal fight. It's a really tough fight. I've been in some fights. I've been in some physical fights. I've had some tough surgeries. I know what it is to have to fight your way back up on your feet. That's not fun. Some of you have never had that. That is not fun. It's painful, and it's tough, and it's hard on your family, and it's hard on your friends, and it is hard on your finances, and you can't go to work if you're on a ventilator, and you can't go to work if you're in isolation. And I'm telling you, you can't hug your kids, and they can't hug you. And I'm telling you, the trauma and the fallout of people dying in rooms alone and FaceTiming people to say goodbye to the people you love is not fun. And I don't want you to allow the seduction of the sun and the beaches and the breezes and whatever's going on in your city to draw you out into a position where you compromise your own safety. I'm not saying that you can't do anything. I'm not saying that you can't go anywhere. I am saying don't let anybody make that decision for you but you, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to deal with that pain and that sickness and that possible death. And the deaths have not been pretty, and they have not been fun. And I'm hearing it, and I'm getting the calls every day. We've lost people I knew. We've lost a lot of people I knew. We've lost a lot of preachers. We've lost a lot of entertainers. We've lost a lot of people. People of color are especially susceptible. Elderly people, especially susceptible. People with pre-existing health conditions, especially susceptible. Now, when I say something like this, then I get that group of people I get that group of people that say, you're a man of God, you're supposed to have faith. And if you just believe God, you ought to just encourage people to just walk in faith. I believe in faith. I believe in God. I believe in the Bible. I believe in the Word of God. But I also believe in common sense. And I want to say something to you, and I want you to hear me real good. When the Bible says that when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness for 40 days, and Satan said, if thou be the Son of God, cast yourself off of this mountain, for it is written that the angels will bear you up. Jesus did not throw himself off the mountain just to see if angels would catch him. And that's not faith. That's not faith. That's foolishness. To put yourself in a situation where you disregard common sense, disregard it just to see if God has got you. Please don't do that. I'm on here talking to you today because I'm concerned and I'm worried and I love you and I'm scared for you and I'm scared for all of us to the degree that I don't live in fear, but I don't make dumb decisions either. I don't live in fear. I'm not pacing the floor in my house, but I don't make foolish decisions. I don't. Not to please anybody, not to hug my grandchildren, not to see my own children for the past 6 or 7 weeks has not been fun. But if I make good decisions right now, I'll get to see them for another 30 years or so. If I make good decisions right now, I'll get to go out to the sun and I'll get to go to the beach and I'll get to go to my favorite restaurants and I'll get to go back to the theaters and I'll get to do all of that the rest of my life if I am careful right now. And I want to say something to you because I know the sun is calling you. I know it's calling you. I know it's calling you. I know normal is calling you. I know your friends and your connections and your relatives and having parties and barbecues in the garage and your backyard and having all your friends over and all of that is calling you. I know it's calling you. But until we see more light, I just want to challenge you to be very careful. And I want you to not feel bad and not to feel like that's an indictment against your faith. It absolutely is not. Jesus did not throw himself off the mountain just because it was written that the angels would bear him up. That's not about faith. That's not about faith. Now, yes, people are opening up and having churches, and every pastor has to make his own decision about that, and it depends on the church and the style of the church and the size of the congregation and your risk tolerance to be in that environment or get on a plane and be in that environment where recycled air is being recycled around and around and around and again, and sometimes you got to go, and I get it. Wearing a mask protects the other people from you, but it doesn't always protect you from what's in the air. Understand that. I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to be a bummer, but I want to challenge you. I want to challenge young people who sometimes, when you're young, you think you're invincible. And when you're young, you haven't seen death yet. I've seen dead bodies. I've touched dead bodies. I've ministered over dead bodies. I've been in the house with dead bodies. I know what that is. The stench of the dead bodies that were starting to decompose in a trailer in New York became so strong that they called the police because the morticians and the people in authority had no place left to put the bodies. This is not about politics. This is not about politics. Don't let the politicians and the news stations seduce you into making this about politics. This is not about politics. This is not about denominations. This is about human life. And yours is special, and nobody can protect you like you. And sometimes even after all you've done to protect yourself, you still could contract it because we are fighting an enemy we cannot see. Because I'm told that the virus lives on certain services for days. So touching a doorknob or pushing an elevator button, you can have on a mask and push a button and accidentally wipe your eye and contract. And yes, wash your hands and do all the stuff you can do. But I'm just saying, don't be silly. Don't get tired. Let us not be weary. In well-doing, we shall reap in due season if we faint not. This is not a decision that your city makes. Yes, they can open up the stores and say we're free to open up, but they can't make us open up. They can say we're free to go, but they can't make you go. You make the decision about you. And I just felt compelled to talk to you for a few minutes. I miss my friends. I miss my service. I miss hanging out with my family, my siblings. I went to visit my brother and sister the other day, and I told them I'm going to drop you off some goodies that I fixed for you. I said I'm going to open up the back of the trunk, get them out, and take them in the house. God bless you, and we'll talk over the phone. I didn't go in the house. I didn't connect. I am tired of talking to people who can't get in the hospital with their sisters and with their mamas, and they're dying alone now, as we speak, in the hospitals. And we have not met the CDC guidelines. And even if we had in all of our cities met the CDC guidelines, you still got to be careful, particularly if you're in a high-risk group, particularly if you have bad insurance, even with good insurance. I have good insurance. All of my staff has. I got the same insurance that the janitors in my church have. The same insurance goes everywhere. I have the same insurance that they do, and I think it's a good policy. But all that means is that I can get into a good hospital and not necessarily into a clinic. That does not mean that my suffering would be any less, and it doesn't mean that there is any cure. That does not mean that I want to be sitting up on that level of sickness, going through that level of pain. Anything you can do to protect yourself. We'll get to have church again. If you're a church-going person, if you're a club-going person, the clubs will still be there. They're going to open back up again. The restaurants are going to open back up. Whatever it is you're into, it's going to be there. There will be beaches. There will be vacations. There will be tomorrow if you're smart. And I just felt compelled to try to tell you, and I'll probably be criticized. There's probably people saying all kinds of obnoxious and ignorant things. That's what happens when you go on social media. That's what happens when you have a global, diverse, eclectic audience of people who think all kinds of ways. And I can live with it. You can say whatever you want. It won't hurt me. It won't hurt me. What would hurt me, if I saw danger coming and I didn't warn you, I wouldn't be who I am. And I wanted to talk to you today, and I'm just saying, be careful. I'm saying be wise. I'm saying just because you love somebody doesn't mean you can't get the disease from them. I know husbands who got it from their wives. I know husbands and wives who gave it to their children. I know children who gave it to their parents. I'm not talking about something I saw on CNN. I'm talking about people I know. So don't tell me that this is not real and that this is not serious or that this is over. Just because the weather changed and the sun has come out and the sea breeze is blowing. Please hear me. You have to value your life enough to be very careful and make appropriate decisions and read everything you can read and make those decisions wisely, because your children need you. Your family needs you. We need you. As the Black community is concerned, I wonder who's left. I know there are people left. There's a lot of us left, but I wonder who we lost. The brown people, I wonder who we lost. White people, I wonder who we lost. Christian people, I wonder who we lost. It's a whole lot of pastors. We lost them. We lost them. There are people in the hospital right now fighting for their life right now. And you can't go in there now, but as long as you drive past it, you can tell yourself any kind of story you want to hear. But if you have ever been with those families and been in that situation like I have, that level of pain, that level of screaming on the phone in my ear, I could live the rest of my life and never hear that again. And I just want you to be careful, because I'm afraid for you. We get lax easy. We get bored easily. We get frustrated easily. And you tell yourself that you've been suffering. And I know it's been isolation, but most of us are isolated in places that other people would dream of being, with TVs and air conditioning and dishwashers. We've been isolated in places in third world countries that some of the people there could not even imagine that as suffering. And if it takes another 6 weeks, and if we have to be careful a year, I'd rather be careful an entire year and adjust my style of living an entire year than to not adjust it and be a statistic and not get to see my grandkids grow up. And so I'm challenging you today. I'm challenging you today. I believe in prayer. I just got through preaching about prayer. If you heard me preach, I just got through preaching about prayer. I believe in prayer. I believe in the power of prayer. And if you get sick, we're going to pray for you till the cows come home. And if I get sick, please pray for me. But if I don't get sick and if I can do things to stop it, then you could use that prayer to pray for somebody else who really needs it. And all that medication and all that stuff they'll be using on me, they could use it on somebody else who really needs it. I don't need to be in the hospital or shut up in my house, throwing up and vomiting with diarrhea, with the fever out of my head, racked with pain all over my body, going through God knows what all else, just so I can hug you or hang with you or go out and have ribs at my favorite restaurant. And I wrestled with getting on here to say this because even in the Christian world, there's so much criticism when you talk practical sense. People love for you to be lofty and superficial, but I'm a shepherd. A shepherd cares about his sheep. A real shepherd cares about his sheep. And I'm a person, and I'm a caring person, and I'm a loving person, and I'm a father, and I'm a son, and I'm a brother, and I'm a friend. And I'm afraid for you. And I'm afraid for me. I'm not walking in fear, I'm walking in faith, but it still does not negate the fact that I am afraid that the seduction of the sun and the changing of the weather and the lowering of the standards will lure some of us who are at high risk, not just of contracting, but dying into a place where we become another statistic. And the world will keep on going, just like it did after the bubonic plague, just like it did over the Spanish flu. It will keep on going. It's just going to go without you. You are the CEO of you. You are the president of yourself. You are the president of your preferences and your choices and your decisions. And nobody, not me, not anybody else, gets to make those decisions for you. And I want to empower you today to be wise how you make those decisions. To be wise how you handle your mother. If you're blessed to have a mother and a father left and a grandmother and a grandfather, be wise. I'd rather hug them for a lifetime than hug them just because it's Mother's Day and lose them right after that. I've got so many people that went in the hospital. By the time they let you in the hospital, they don't let you in the hospital when they find out you have it. They only let you in the hospital when you are so sick they have to let you in the hospital. Most of the people who go in the hospital and get it are in the hospital, and many of them, not most, but many of them go in the hospital and they're dead in a week. Most people survive it, but there are so many that do not. They go down so quick. Their lungs fill with infection, they drown in their own body fluids, and they die alone. Now, no dinner, no sail, no new pair of shoes, no new hat, no beach, no sun, no sex, no fun, no church, no revival is worth you being foolish. That may not have done any good, I don't know. You want to unfollow me, go ahead. But I had this overwhelming urge to warn you and warn myself and warn my children. I got all my children on the phone. I told them, be careful. I threatened them. I threatened them. Be careful, because of my heart, I don't want to be in a position where I'm having a graveside service over my kids. And so I talk to you today. I love you. I encourage you. Keep praying. Had a great service this morning. Spirit of the Lord is there. But in the back of my mind, there's this cloud that I thought that if I would say something, if one person heard me and made a wiser decision, or challenged themselves, or masked themselves, or prepared themselves, or changed a plan that saved their life, if one person out of everybody on here hears me in any country in this world, in any color in this world, in any political persuasion of this world, if one person is a little bit more careful because of what I said today, then it's worth whatever anybody else says. And I know some of you got to go to work. And I know some of you got to go out there and get in the mayhem, and you got to go. But as you go, be as careful as you can. Wash as much as you can. Wash before you come home and touch your kids or touch anybody. Be careful, because life is precious. Even with all the craziness, and even with all the problems, and even with all the politics, and even with all the racism, and even with all the disparities that exist, and even with all the genderism, with all the craziness that exists in the world, is still precious. Don't lose it because you were bored and you had to go in the mall and buy some shoes. Buy them online. Just take another beat and another second to think, is there another way that I can get this done with the least amount of risk as possible? Do it. But is there another way that we can do it and make it work and stay alive and live to talk about this when it's over and figure it out later? Think about that. I hope you have a blessed Sunday today. I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to put negative words out into the air. But if a watchman is on the wall and he doesn't warn you, pull him down. If somebody loves you and they don't care for you, and they're not challenging you, they don't really love you. Call everybody you love and challenge them to be careful and to make their own decisions and not be puppets and not be slaves. Just because somebody said something don't mean you have to do it. Just because they open up the movies don't mean you have to go to the theater. You got Netflix, you got all kinds of stuff. Ask yourself questions. Do I really need to do this? That's all I'm saying. Okay, I won't belabor the point. I won't go on and on about it, but you can tell I feel real strongly about it. I've been out in the parking lot. We've been serving people and feeding people who don't have food. We gave out 5,000 meals, and we've got boxes and boxes of stuff that we've got groceries going to people, and we're getting ready to get some more, and we're going to serve people all over the community, wherever you come from. When we make the announcement and you're in the Dallas area, come eat. Come get some groceries. Come get them. We don't ask you no questions, whether you're a Christian, whether you belong to the church, nothing like that. Nothing. Just if you're hungry and we got food, you can have some till it runs out. We'll continue to do that as much as we can, as long as we can, and everything else we can. If you go to tdjakesfoundation.org, we got jobs. We've made relationships with employers to get jobs for you, to get jobs to get back on your feet. I want you to win. I want you to win. I want you to win. I want you to eat. I want you to laugh. I want you to have fun. I want you to shout. I want you to praise the Lord. I want you to pray. I just don't want you to die. And if that's a crime, then hang me. Because I don't want you to die. And I don't want your relatives screaming on the phone with me again. I'm tired of them calls. I love you. I'm praying for you. Be wise. Be smart. Most time I'm on here, I'm talking about something else, but I felt compelled to talk to you about this today. It's Sunday. In Dallas, it's a beautiful day. Go for a ride. Go out in your backyard. Sunbathe. I don't need a tan, but you know, do whatever you can do. But watch out for people. Watch out for close connections. And love God all you want to, but take a little bit of love and put it on you. And love yourself too much to get too close to people you know or don't know until we are fully safe. This is a public service announcement. I love you. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Be as healthy as you can. Take your medicine. Take your vitamins. Vitamin D, particularly in African Americans, is something we have a tendency to like. Take your vitamin D and your zinc and all the other things that you can to build up your immunity in case you do get it. You'll have something to fight with. Your elderberry juice and all of that kind of stuff. Do everything you can to help yourself. And then God picks up where you leave off. Man's extremity is God's opportunity. But God won't bathe me this morning. He won't brush my teeth. He won't do anything for me that I could do for myself. And that's still faith. That's still faith. Use your faith, but use your brain. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. I love you. I'm praying for people all over the world. I'm praying for people who got 10 people living in a one-bedroom apartment. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for people who are already underwater and now you're worse underwater. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for people who are in family relationships that being in the house is a miserable situation. You just want to get out of the house because, yeah. But let me tell you something. When what's out there is worse than what's in here, chill, baby. It was funky on the ark, but the animal stayed on it. It smelled real bad on the ark. But they stayed in the ark because what was in the ark was not as bad as what was outside. And if what's in your ark is worse than what's outside, call somebody. You got a problem, call the police, call Child Protective Services, do some domestic violence, do something for yourself, get yourself out of harm's way. You can still be safe. Just don't be crazy. I love you. I'm gone. I'm getting out of here. I got stuff to do. I had to get that out so I could sleep tonight and have peace of mind. I just felt compelled to tell you, I feel real strong about it, okay? Take care. Peace out. Love you. See you later.